The city was alive with energy, lights reflecting off the glass buildings, and the streets bustling with the flow of ambition. At the top of this world of commerce stood Ethan Blackwell, the CEO of Blackwell Enterprises. Tall, sharp-suited, and commanding, Ethan had everything a man could wish for: wealth, power, and respect. He had never known want or uncertainty until that day. It was an ordinary afternoon when everything changed. Ethan was attending a charity event at an upscale hotel. He stood on the balcony overlooking the city skyline when a figure caught his attention. A young woman wearing a simple red dress, her long hair flowing down her back like a river of silk, walked into the event hall. She wasn't the most striking woman in the room, yet there was something about her, an aura, a presence, that made everything else fade. Her name was Lily Park. Lily wasn't rich, nor was she part of the elite crowd Ethan typically mingled with. In fact, she was a humble waitress who had been working 2 jobs to support her ailing mother. Her life had never been anything close to easy, but her strength and kindness radiated from her. And when Ethan's eyes met hers for the first time, something inexplicable happened. It was as if the universe had paused, time slowed, and all he could focus on was her. He couldn't explain it, but he knew this was no ordinary encounter. This was a moment that would change everything. Ethan tried to push the feeling away. After all, what could a man like him possibly have in common with someone like Lily? But every time their paths crossed at the event, he couldn't help but be drawn to her. She wasn't like the women he was used to, dazzling, poised, and eager to impress. Lily was real, grounded, and completely unaware of his status. Their first conversation was brief, a moment stolen between the buzz of the event, but it was enough. Ethan smiled. "I don't believe we've met. I'm Ethan Blackwell." Lily looked up, surprised. She had heard his name, of course. Everyone had. "Lily Park," she said, her voice soft but confident. "I work at the cafe down the street." They spoke for a few minutes, their conversation light but meaningful. Lily wasn't intimidated by his wealth or power, and that was something Ethan had rarely encountered. She treated him like a person, not a symbol of success. It was refreshing. Over the next few weeks, they saw each other at different charity events, often by chance. They would exchange a few words, share a laugh, and for a brief moment, Ethan would feel the growing connection between them. He found himself seeking out these encounters, knowing full well that the attraction was growing stronger with every passing day. As days turned into weeks, Ethan's fascination with Lily intensified. He began to find excuses to visit the cafe where she worked. At first, it was about enjoying a cup of coffee, but soon it became more than that. He found himself looking forward to their short conversations, the way her eyes lit up when she spoke about her dreams. One afternoon, as he sat at a small corner table, Lily came over to serve him his usual, cappuccino with a dash of cinnamon. She smiled warmly, and for the first time, she seemed to notice something in his eyes. There was an unspoken understanding between them, a connection that neither could ignore. "Is everything all right?" Lily asked, sensing a change in Ethan's demeanor. Ethan looked up from his cup, meeting her gaze. "More than all right," he replied with a quiet intensity. "I'm beginning to think I've been missing out on something important in life." Lily raised an eyebrow, intrigued. "And what would that be?" Ethan hesitated, unsure if he should voice the feelings stirring within him. But in that moment, something inside him urged him to speak his truth. Something real, something that doesn't come with expectations or agendas. Just genuine connection. Lily nodded slowly, as if understanding exactly what he meant. The silence between them wasn't awkward. It was comfortable. It felt as if they were both standing on the edge of something they had been waiting for, but neither was ready to take the first step. It was a few weeks later when Ethan could no longer deny it. The feelings he had for Lily were not just a passing infatuation. They were real. He had spent years building a business, achieving success, but none of it had ever felt as fulfilling as the moments he shared with her. The simplicity of their time together, the way she made him feel seen and heard, was unlike anything he had experienced before. One evening, as the city lights twinkled below them, Ethan invited Lily to dinner at a quiet rooftop restaurant. The air was crisp, the night serene. As they sat across from each other, the flickering candles between them casting a soft glow, Ethan knew it was time. "I've been thinking a lot about us," Ethan began, his voice steady but sincere. "About you." Lily smiled, taking a sip of her wine. "You've got my attention," she teased. "I can't keep pretending that this, whatever it is, isn't more than I've let on," he continued. "I've tried to keep my distance, but it's impossible. I'm in love with you, Lily." Lily's eyes widened, her breath catching in her throat. She wasn't sure what to say, how to respond to the confession that had come so unexpectedly. They'd only known each other for a short time, yet it felt like they had known each other forever. She didn't doubt his sincerity. She just couldn't wrap her mind around the reality of it. "I don't know what to say," she whispered. Ethan reached across the table, gently taking her hand in his. "You don't have to say anything. I just needed you to know how I feel." The days that followed Ethan's confession were filled with uncertainty. Lily found herself torn. She had never imagined herself with someone like him, a successful, wealthy CEO, and she couldn't deny that her own insecurities began to surface. She had always known the struggles of being a working-class girl, and the idea of being involved with someone from such a different world was both thrilling and terrifying. Ethan, for his part, was persistent. He continued to pursue Lily, but the more he tried to prove his feelings, the more distant she seemed. She wasn't ready to embrace a relationship with someone like him, someone who came with so much baggage, so many expectations. Their time together was marked by moments of joy, but also moments of tension. Lily struggled with feelings of inadequacy, unsure if she could ever truly fit into his world. She questioned whether she deserved him, whether someone like her could ever be enough for a man like Ethan. Ethan, meanwhile, was frustrated. He had never been one to back down from a challenge, and this was no exception. He wanted to prove to Lily that love wasn't about wealth or status. It was about connection, about two people finding something real. But every time he tried to bring them closer, Lily pulled away. Their relationship was at a crossroads, one neither of them had expected, but one that would define the future of their love. The tension between Ethan and Lily grew unbearable. Despite his continued efforts to bridge the gap, Lily remained distant. It wasn't that she didn't care. She did, more than she was willing to admit. But the world she inhabited was so far removed from Ethan's that the thought of being together seemed impossible. She feared that one day she would just be another face in the crowd, lost to the world of high society that Ethan was part of. And then, one fateful evening, things reached a breaking point. They were at one of Ethan's parties, an extravagant affair with expensive wines, glittering chandeliers, and the elite of the city all gathered under one roof. Ethan had invited Lily, hoping to show her a side of his world that wasn't all about power and money. But Lily felt out of place. The elegant women, the sharp-suited men, it felt like a foreign land to her. She excused herself from the party, stepping out onto the balcony for some air. But just as she leaned against the railing, she heard a familiar voice. "Lily, wait." Ethan stepped toward her, his expression serious, almost pleading. "You've been distant," he said softly. "What's going on? I thought we were getting closer." Lily looked up at him, the weight of the world in her eyes. "Ethan, I don't belong here. I'm not the kind of woman you need. I don't fit into your world, and I never will." That night, Lily left the party, and the distance between her and Ethan grew even more. She knew that in order to protect herself, she needed to step away, even if it meant breaking her own heart. They were from different worlds, and no matter how much Ethan seemed to care, the differences were too vast to overcome. For days, Ethan tried to reach out. He sent texts, made calls, but Lily didn't respond. He felt as if a part of him had been ripped away. Every time he saw a message from her in his inbox, hope flickered in his chest, only for that hope to be dashed when he saw she had ignored it. At work, Ethan couldn't concentrate. His mind was always on her, on the woman he had once thought could be the one. He felt lost, unsure of how to win her back. Meanwhile, Lily threw herself into her work. She worked double shifts at the cafe and started taking on extra responsibilities. It was her way of avoiding the pain. But no matter how hard she tried to focus, she couldn't escape the memory of Ethan's eyes, the sincerity, the longing. But in her heart, the doubt was too strong. She wasn't enough for him. She couldn't be. After weeks of silence, Ethan received a message from Lily. Only 3 words, but they broke his heart. "It's over, Ethan." The finality of her message crushed him. He didn't know how to fix it, or if it was even fixable anymore. Time passed, and life went on. But for Ethan, it felt like everything had come to a standstill. He missed Lily, her laugh, the way she looked at him with those soft eyes, and most of all, the way she made him feel like he was truly alive. Every night he'd lie awake in his penthouse apartment, staring at the ceiling, wondering where it all went wrong. He couldn't accept that it was over. Not like this. One evening he decided to go to the cafe where he had first met Lily. It wasn't just for a cup of coffee. He had to see her, talk to her, to apologize for his mistakes, for not understanding her fears sooner. As soon as he walked through the door, he spotted her. She was at the counter arranging some fresh pastries, her hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She looked radiant, though there was a sadness in her eyes. He approached slowly, unsure of how she would react. But when she saw him, there was a flicker of something. Surprise, maybe even a little hope. But it quickly faded. She turned back to her work, pretending she hadn't seen him. "Lily," Ethan said, his voice soft but firm. "Please, I need to talk to you." She didn't respond at first, but after a long pause, she sighed and set down her work. "Ethan, I can't keep doing this. I can't keep pretending that things will be different. You're right about one thing. We're from different worlds." Ethan's heart sank, but he wasn't giving up yet. "We might be from different worlds, Lily, but that doesn't mean we can't be part of each other's lives. I've spent weeks thinking about nothing else but you. I can't let you go. Not like this." Lily stood there for a long moment, her hands shaking as she held a cup of coffee. She hadn't expected Ethan to show up, not after everything. But here he was, standing in front of her, vulnerable, with a sincerity in his eyes that made her heart ache. She had spent so much time telling herself that they were too different, that their love couldn't possibly work. But in his eyes she saw something different. He was willing to fight for them. "I don't know what to say," she whispered, her voice faltering. "You don't have to say anything," Ethan replied, his voice gentle but firm. "I'm not asking for you to change or to be someone you're not. I just want you. All of you." Lily felt a tear slip down her cheek. She had always been afraid to admit it. But she wanted this. She wanted Ethan. She wanted to believe that love could transcend all the differences between them. "I'm scared," she confessed, her voice barely audible. "I'm scared that one day I'll wake up and realize that I wasn't enough for you, that I'll lose myself in this relationship, and I'll never be able to find my way back." Ethan reached out, gently cupping her face in his hands. "You will never lose yourself, Lily. I promise you that, and I won't let you go." In that moment, Lily realized something profound. Love wasn't about perfection, or about fitting into someone else's life. It was about trust, compromise, and the willingness to grow together. And she was ready to take that leap. After that night, things between Ethan and Lily began to change. They decided to take things slowly, giving each other the time and space to rebuild trust and understanding. They knew their love wouldn't be perfect, but they were willing to make it work. Ethan moved out of his luxurious penthouse and into a modest apartment near Lily's cafe. The adjustment was strange at first, but every day brought them closer. They spent their weekends exploring the city, taking long walks in the park, and having quiet dinners together. For the first time in a long time, Ethan found joy in the simple things, things that had once seemed trivial and insignificant. Lily, on the other hand, learned to open up more about her fears and insecurities. She no longer felt the need to hide behind her walls. With Ethan's support, she realized she didn't have to be perfect to deserve love. She was worthy of it, just as she was. They learned to communicate better, share their dreams, and most importantly, respect each other's differences. The world that once seemed so different between them now felt like a bridge connecting them in ways they hadn't imagined. As months passed, their bond grew stronger. Lily's confidence blossomed, and Ethan too found himself more grounded and at peace. Together they were building something real, something lasting, a love based on trust, understanding, and mutual respect. But like all relationships, their journey wasn't without its challenges. Just as they began to feel comfortable, life threw a new test their way. Ethan's company was facing a major financial crisis, and he was forced to focus all his energy on saving the business. Late nights at the office became the norm, and the time they had grown used to spending together began to shrink. Lily, though supportive, found herself growing anxious again. She had watched Ethan pour himself into his work, just like he had done in the past, and she feared that it would pull him away from her once again. One evening, after a particularly long day, Ethan returned home to find Lily sitting on the couch, her eyes filled with concern. "You've been working non-stop, Ethan," she said quietly. "I don't want to be a burden, but I need you to know that I'm here. We're in this together, okay?" Ethan sat beside her, taking her hands in his. "You're not a burden, Lily. I've been trying so hard to fix things. I don't want to lose us." Lily smiled softly. "You won't lose me, but I need you to remember that we're a team. We've been through a lot to get here." In that moment, Ethan realized something important. Success didn't mean anything if he didn't have Lily by his side. He promised to find balance, to not let work take away from the life they were building together. Just as they started finding their rhythm, a new obstacle presented itself. One of Ethan's business competitors launched an aggressive marketing campaign, aiming to undermine Blackwell Enterprises and steal clients from under their noses. The pressure mounted, and Ethan found himself working longer hours than ever. Lily, understanding the importance of Ethan's work, but feeling more isolated, once again began to question their relationship. She could see the stress in his eyes, the way he barely slept or ate, and she couldn't help but feel like she was losing him all over again. One night after Ethan had come home late from a business meeting, Lily confronted him. "You said we were in this together," she said, her voice shaking. "But you're not here anymore, Ethan. You're so caught up in trying to fix your company that you've forgotten what really matters. You've forgotten about us." Ethan, exhausted from the constant pressure, snapped. "I'm doing this for us, Lily. I'm trying to build a future where we don't have to worry about money, about anything." Lily took a deep breath. "I didn't fall in love with your success, Ethan. I fell in love with you. Your kindness, your love for life, your dreams. But we need to find a way to balance everything." Ethan stared at her, realizing she was right. He had been so focused on fixing the business that he had neglected the most important thing in his life, their relationship. The argument that night was a wake-up call for both of them. Ethan knew he had been neglecting Lily, and more importantly, he had been neglecting the relationship they had fought so hard to build. But it wasn't too late. He could still make things right. Over the next few weeks, Ethan made a conscious effort to rebalance his life. He delegated tasks at work, took time off, and spent more time with Lily. They went on weekend trips, explored new hobbies together, and reconnected in ways that had been lost during the chaos of their earlier struggles. But it wasn't just Ethan who had to change. Lily, too, learned to express her needs more openly. She had always been independent, but she realized that it was okay to ask for help, to lean on someone, especially when that someone loved her as much as Ethan did. They started to realize that love wasn't about perfection. It was about navigating the ups and downs together, supporting one another through the challenges, and growing together in the process. Slowly but surely, their love became stronger. The setbacks that once threatened to tear them apart were now opportunities for growth, for deeper understanding, and for building a future together. A year had passed since that fateful night when they almost gave up on each other. The struggles, the doubts, the distance, all of it seemed like a distant memory now. What remained was a love that had been tested and had come out stronger on the other side. One evening, Ethan invited Lily to their favorite park. It was the same spot where they had spent many quiet moments together, away from the hustle and bustle of the world. The sun was setting, casting a golden glow over everything. As they walked through the park, Ethan stopped and turned to face Lily. "Lily," he said softly, his voice filled with emotion. "We've been through so much together, and through it all, I've learned one thing, that you are my everything. You make me a better man, and you've given me a love I never thought I deserved. Lily, will you marry me?" Lily's heart skipped a beat. Tears filled her eyes as she nodded, unable to find the words. She had never been so sure of anything in her life. "Yes, Ethan," she whispered. "Yes, I'll marry you." The love story that had once seemed so impossible was now about to take the next step, a step into a future that was theirs to create together. The day of their wedding arrived, a day that felt almost surreal to both of them. The venue was beautiful, with soft white flowers draping the walls and a gentle breeze rustling through the trees. Ethan stood at the altar, his heart racing, watching the doors open to reveal Lily, glowing in her wedding dress. Her smile was all the confirmation he needed. This was real, and they had made it through everything. Lily had once feared this moment, afraid of the commitment and the responsibility it would carry. But as she walked toward Ethan, she realized that this was not just a wedding. It was the culmination of everything they had built together. They had faced hardship, doubt, and distance. But in the end, love had brought them to this point. She had found the strength to trust in herself and in their love. She had learned that, with Ethan, she wasn't just loved, she was cherished, respected, and valued for who she truly was. Ethan took her hands as they stood together, both overcome with emotion. The vows they exchanged were simple yet powerful, reflecting the journey they had walked to reach this moment. "I promise to love you, to cherish you, and to never take for granted the beauty of the life we've built together," Ethan said, his voice thick with emotion. Lily's eyes shone with tears as she spoke her vows. "I promise to stand by you, to always choose you, and to never stop growing alongside you. Together, we will make a future that is brighter than anything we could have imagined apart." They exchanged rings, sealing their promises to each other. After the wedding, Ethan and Lily embarked on a honeymoon that felt like the perfect start to their new chapter. They chose a quiet beach resort, a peaceful retreat far from the noise of the city. It was just the two of them, no distractions, no pressures, only the sounds of the ocean and the warmth of the sun. During the days, they explored the beautiful coastline, taking long walks on the beach, savoring each other's company in a way they hadn't in a long time. In the evenings, they shared romantic dinners by candlelight, talking about everything and nothing, simply enjoying the magic of being together. As they sat together on the beach one evening, watching the sunset over the horizon, Ethan took Lily's hand in his. "This feels like a dream," he said softly. "I never imagined I'd be here with you, having everything I've ever wanted. But it's real. We're real." Lily smiled, her heart full of contentment. "You're right. It feels like a dream. But it's the dream I always wanted. And I'm so glad it's with you." The first year of marriage was a period of growth, laughter, and quiet understanding. They encountered challenges, as all couples do, but the difference now was that they faced them together. Ethan continued to work hard to rebuild his business, but he made sure to prioritize his time with Lily. Whether it was a quick coffee break in the morning or a late-night conversation after a long day, they found ways to make each other feel loved and supported. Lily, too, was growing. She had returned to her studies, deciding to pursue her dream of becoming a chef. Ethan supported her every step of the way, even attending her graduation ceremony. In return, Lily made him meals that were far beyond what he could have imagined. Together they found that love wasn't just about being there for each other during the good times. It was about creating memories, supporting each other's dreams, and adapting to life's twists and turns. The couple celebrated their first wedding anniversary with a quiet getaway. As they sat at a small cafe overlooking a picturesque view, they reflected on how much they had grown. "Can you believe it's already been a year?" Ethan asked, squeezing Lily's hand. "I can't believe it either," she said, smiling, "but every moment has been worth it." They toasted to the future, to all the years ahead, knowing that no matter what came their way, they would always have each other. Months passed, and everything seemed to be falling into place. But then, a surprise arrived that neither Ethan nor Lily had expected. One evening, after a long day at work, Lily returned home to find a small box sitting on the kitchen counter. Her curiosity piqued. She opened it to find a letter. She unfolded the paper and began to read. "Dear Lily, I know that life hasn't always been easy for us. We've faced challenges, doubts, and fears, but we've come so far. and I couldn't be prouder of the woman you've become. Every day, I'm reminded of how lucky I am to have you by my side. I wanted to surprise you with something that would show you just how much I love you." Lily's eyes widened in surprise as she read the final lines of the letter. "You're going to be a mother." Her heart stopped for a moment as the reality of the words sank in. Ethan had planned everything: the surprise, the timing, and the joy of telling her that they were expecting a child together. When Ethan arrived home, he found her sitting there, a wide smile on her face and a small baby book in her hands. He sat next to her, his own eyes shining with excitement. "We're going to be parents," she whispered, her voice full of wonder. "We are," Ethan replied, wrapping his arms around her. "And we're going to make the most of every moment." As the years passed, Ethan and Lily's love story continued to unfold. They built a life together, one that was filled with joy, challenges, and the constant reminder that love, when nurtured, could overcome anything. They welcomed their child into the world, and the experience brought them even closer. They continued to support each other's dreams, growing together in ways they had never imagined. Ethan's business flourished, but he no longer measured success by money or power. It was the life he had with Lily that mattered most. Lily's culinary career took off as well, with a restaurant of her own, where Ethan was her biggest supporter and the proudest customer.